All right, today we're talking about how to make your first 50K from Amazon FBA, all off of credit, and how exactly to structure your credit profile to get the most funding so that you can buy inventory with it and make profit whenever you're starting Amazon FBA. Everybody that's doing Amazon FBA at a big capacity is buying all of their inventory with credit. All right, we're not buying inventory with cash, we're not buying inventory with debit cards. And the reason why is because when you swipe a credit card instead of a debit card, one, you're getting points. So why would you use a debit card when you're spending money and not making any money off of that? You could be swiping your credit card for all of these items that you're buying and at the same time be collecting points on all of those items that you're buying. Because when we're doing Amazon FBA, we're spending a lot of money, right? We're buying products over and over. So you should be collecting the points from a credit card so that way you get more money back. The second part of using a credit card is that a lot of times, especially as a beginner, you're buying from websites that you've never heard from before, right? Me, when I was first getting started, I had ended up buying from a website that never sent me my product because they weren't necessarily a scam, but they had actually got shut down. The website that I was buying from, the company had actually went out of business and they just never bothered to close their website. For me, if I would have used a debit card and I would have made that purchase, I would have been screwed. Whereas I made that purchase on my Amex and all I had to do was call Amex and say, hey, I never got my product, they're not responding to my calls. A credit card will give you your money right back and they'll go fight for your money to try and get it back for you. But that's a big part of using credit instead of debit when you're doing Amazon. And the last one is just you have more money to leverage. It's much more doable for you to have gain access to $50,000 in business funding than it is for you to try and save up $50,000 for inventory. And as you know, when you're doing Amazon, a huge part of making more money is having more inventory. So the more inventory that you can buy, aka the more access to money that you have, the more profit you're ultimately going to make. And so that's one of the hugest reasons why having access to a credit card, and specifically what we're going to go into in this video, a business credit card, and unlock a whole world of profit for you. And in my opinion, it's what will separate a beginner seller from professional seller, just because you have more money to play with. If you have two people grinding out Amazon FBA, one of them has 50K to spend on product and the other one has $50 to spend on product all day, the guy with 50K is going to outperform every single time. So I'm going to put you on game how to get these high limit credit cards, how to acquire business funding, exactly how I did it, exactly how I do it for my students, and just also what you need to know as far as Amazon FBA goes so that you don't waste your funding and you're not putting it in a place where you have all this funding but you're putting it into the wrong products, right? You probably already know my story. I was working construction jobs and warehouse jobs before I ever made any money online. I literally got into this credit and Amazon FBA space a year and 8 months ago, almost 2 years ago, and made it to where I'm at now, all because I was able to leverage credit. So let's talk about first what you need to have in place before you go for this funding, because a lot of y'all want this funding, a lot of y'all want those high limit business cards, but once you get them, don't really have a plan on what to do with them. You need to have a plan on what to do with them. If you already have a business that is profitable and you're already running it, you can absolutely spend your business funding on that to just turn up your business. But a lot of y'all don't have, or me, I didn't really have an idea of what I wanted to do. I just knew I got to make it out of the situation I'm in, right? I was tired of penny pinching for groceries. I was tired of not being able to help my family. I was tired of going on dates and having to be like, damn, can she get that? I never wanted to worry about money. I always had more ambitions. So everybody has their reasons, right? But Amazon FBA is what took me out of that, is what I was able to leverage my credit with. And when you're doing Amazon FBA, basically what you're doing is flipping products. You're buying them for a cheaper price than they're selling on Amazon and selling them for the difference and keeping the profit. This is something that's really underestimated in my opinion. A lot of people think it's saturated or you can't make any money at it, but you see me here. I'm making 40K a month from Amazon. I have students in the mentorship. You could check my IG highlights. These aren't just students that are just paying me to not making any results. You can see the results. People making thousands of dollars from Amazon. So this is a play that if you pay attention and you lock in, you can run. So to show y'all a good example, I'm gonna show y'all an item that I was selling last month in my store. I'll go ahead and put up the item where I bought it from right here and how much it was selling on Amazon right here. So you can see both of these items are going for a different price. And I'll show you the seller amp chart here. You can see the profits that I was making, how much I bought it for, how much I'm making back. And I'll put on this side the breakdown of how many units I got. You can see the breakdown of how much that I'm making off of it. And it'll give you an idea of what you're looking for, right? Just to show you that this is not impossible, because most of this video is gonna be about business funding and how to get those credit limits. But I just wanna show you that once you have those credit limits, you don't have to be scared about oh, I got all this credit now, but I don't know what to do with it, right? Because at the end of the day, you want to get the credit, you want to get those high-limit business cards, but you got to know what to do with it. So I have a lot more in-depth videos on Amazon FBA and how to find profitable products on my channel. So if you want to know more on the Amazon side, definitely look at those. I would highly suggest, before you get this funding and before you even think about grabbing those 50K, 100K business cards, go ahead and know a little bit about Amazon FBA. You want to at least have a good list of leads that you can go ahead and drop that money on as soon as you get it. Because what you don't want to do is get this money and be sitting on it, right? You don't want to be sitting on it, because when we get these business cards, I'm about to show y'all, they usually have a period of 12 months with no interest, meaning you have 12 months to make this money flip without paying interest on it, right? You don't want to have to be paying interest on it. And so if you're sitting on this, the time is just ticking until you have to start paying interest on it. So the day you get these cards, you want to go ahead and start spending. You want to go ahead and start buying items. So you don't want to be trying to scramble and learn Amazon FBA while you have this business funding sitting in your pocket. You want to know a little bit about Amazon FBA first. So the things that you're going to want to know is how to do FBA and FBM. You need to know how to do both of these channels, right? FBA stands for Fulfilled by Amazon. FBM stands for Fulfilled by Merchant. I do both of these, and I teach my students how to do both of them. Basically, one is just you're buying items, shipping them into the FBA warehouses and letting FBA deal with it. FBM is where you're buying items, getting them shipped to you, and you're shipping them directly to the customers. That's Fulfilled by Merchant. Certain times of the year, you're gonna have to switch from FBA to FBM and vice versa. So know how to do FBA, know how to do FBM. You'll need to have your shipping supplies in order. You'll need a thermal printer so that you can print out all the labels from the items that you're shipping out. And you also wanna have at least 10 leads ready to go so that you can drop money on, so that you can drop this funding on those leads. Say you don't want to be caught up with this funding with nowhere to spend it. And if you don't know how to find them, go watch my video on storefront stalking. I teach students all day how to find profitable products. And I also have a leads list that I'll include in the description below. If you're looking to just have a list of leads, I share all the plays that I make on Amazon FBA with my students and in this leads list that I'll link down below. If you don't want to go all the way with the mentorship, I understand a lot of people don't want to do the whole mentorship. They don't need hand holding. They just want a list of leads that they can go ahead and buy and sell. I now have a separate leads list where you could just peep the stuff that I'm selling. You could just see all the plays that I'm making and just run them yourself. But anyways, you're gonna need at least 10 leads so that you can go ahead, once you have this business funding, to go ahead and get. So now that we got that out the way, you know what you're doing Amazon, let's go ahead and talk about how do you get this funding, right? How do you get these high limit credit cards? How do you get this money from the bank so that you can go ahead and flip it into a business, right? It doesn't have to be Amazon FBA. How do you get this money from the bank so that you can start a business? Well, first things first, we're gonna have to break it down into two sections. So you got personal funding and you got business funding, right? Personal funding is things like a credit card, Chase credit card, or you got American Express credit card or a Navy Federal credit card. It's your regular everyday credit cards, personal credit cards. These are the things that you're familiar with. You probably got one or two of these in your wallet right now, and you got to pay them back at the end of the month. The second option you got is business cards. Your American Express Plums. You're talking about your Chase Ink Business Preferreds. You're talking about your Navy Federal Business Card. These are the same things, they're credit cards, but they're meant for business. You want to be educated on what the difference between a personal card is and a business card before you start going for funding, because a personal card, you have to pay it back at the end of each month. If you use too much of your credit card and you don't pay it back, you're going to get penalized at the end of that month. You're going to start paying interest because they don't want you to start using a whole bunch of your own credit, your personal credit, because that makes you look desperate. And so if you use a lot of your personal credit, your score will go down. Whereas on the business side, if you have a business credit card, banks know it takes money to make money. So if you have a business card and you're spending a lot of that money, it doesn't matter as much because they don't penalize you for using a lot of your credit. Your credit score is not going to go down for using a lot of your credit. Also, those business cards, they're under your business name, right? So I'm Lane on Taberos. If I go get a business card under my company, Atlas Parade, they're not going to go ahead and say, oh, Lane on Taberos is using 100% of his credit utilization of his credit limit. Let's go ahead and ding his credit score, because I'm not using none of that credit. Atlas Parade is using their credit. So this is a way to separate your business from your personal, right? So that way, if you're spending a lot of money on your business side, it's not affecting your personal credit. if you're getting the right cards and you're doing it the right way, it's not going to affect your personal credit score. And that's a huge part of this, because the long-term play is doing something called credit stacking. Credit card stacking is where you're not only getting one credit card with business funding on it, you're getting multiple credit cards. As long as you keep your personal credit score in check, you can do something called credit card stacking. And the way that I can break down that this works is, first I got to explain to you that there's 3 credit bureaus. You got TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian. Now, any credit card that you get, business or personal, is going to pull from at least one of these bureaus, right? So American Express usually pulls Experian. Navy Federal usually pulls TransUnion. Truist usually pulls Equifax. And sometimes in different regions, at different places that you live, it might be different, but these are just usually what I see. Now, you also have credit cards like Capital One. You never want to go for a Capital One credit card because they pull all 3 bureaus, meaning if you get a Capital One card, they're going to look at your TransUnion report, your Equifax report, and your Experian report, and they're going to do a hard pull on all of those bureaus. So as soon as you get a Capital One card, everybody from that point on that looks at your credit is going to see, oh, you asked Capital One for money, and they may have gave it to you, but everyone now can see you have a hard inquiry on your credit reports across all 3 bureaus. Whereas if you would have just went for an American Express credit card, then you would only have an inquiry on your Experian report. If you would have went for a Navy Federal credit card, you would have only had a hard pull on your TransUnion report. If you would have went for a Truist or a Key Bank credit card, then you would only have a hard pull on your TransUnion, on your Equifax report. So you can start to see how, if you move smartly, then you can go ahead and get an Equifax card, a TransUnion card, and an Experian card. And that in itself is called credit card stacking. Put in your knowledge to use that I know that this card pulls from Equifax, I know that this card pulls from Experian, and I know this card pulls from TransUnion. If you get those 3 cards, now you only have one inquiry on each bureau. And to take it to even another level, you can do something called the 2-computer stack and play. You can have 2 computers side by side, right? It takes a couple seconds for an inquiry to report. So basically what I can do with that knowledge is have 2 computers side by side, right? I'm gonna go ahead and have 2 tabs open. 2 tabs for 2 Experian credit card applications. You can hit approve on the first one and then go to that next tab real fast and click approve on the next one. You can do the same thing with Experian, approve, or do the same thing with Equifax, approve, do the same thing with TransUnion, approve. Now, instead of getting 3 credit cards on the credit card stack and play, now you got 6 credit cards. And now just think of the results of something like this. If you took the time to maximize your credit report and make it look really good for the banks, and you click approve on 6 credit cards, and let's say on the low end, these credit cards gave you $25,000 on each. Way more doable than you might think. I have seen some crazy things happen with credit knowledge. That's why I started teaching the students in my mentorship about credit, because Amazon FBA got me out of my 9-to-5 job, right? It got me making 5 to 8K a month, and that's awesome. But credit took me to the point where I was making 5 to 8K a month to making 22K a month the first month that I started putting this stuff into play. And it got me to where I'm at now, making 40K months from Amazon FBA. And that's not even including the other stuff that I'm doing with my credit. Once you have a lot of funding, you can start investing in a whole lot more things. And it's a huge part of doing business in general. When you look at people like running businesses, they're not running these businesses just straight off of their own money. They're using credit, leveraging credit to go ahead and build businesses, buy inventory, buy equipment. Credit is a huge part of doing business, and especially business funding is going to help you out a lot. And so that's a little insight on the plays that you can run with business credit, getting these business credit cards, getting these high limit credit cards. And it's why I would suggest going the business route instead of the personal route. Now, if you're just starting and you're just barely getting into business, barely starting the Amazon FBA, you maybe are young and you don't have that much credit history, you can go ahead and start with the personal side, right? I started my Amazon FBA store with my personal credit, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? You can start with the personal cards, but always have in your mind building up your personal profile so that you can have business cards. Because I'm gonna tell y'all right now, if you have nothing on your credit profile, you're not gonna get business cards, right? And if you do, they're gonna be very low limits. You wanna go ahead and work on your personal credit profile to the point where it's looking good so that you can get those high limit business cards. I'll go ahead and throw up on the screen what you need to go ahead and get business funding, at least with me. If you come to me for business funding, this is what I'm gonna need you to have so that we can get you guaranteed approvals. Because right now, what I'm gonna go ahead and talk about is how you can get guaranteed approvals, because you don't want to be going for these business cards and getting denied. There's nothing more demotivating than getting denied for business credit, because because you got all this in your mind. Oh my God, I'm so ready to do this. I'm ready to turn up. I'm ready to be on that type of time. But then you go for these business cards and you get denied. You don't want that to happen. So I'm going to go ahead and run y'all through how you can guarantee, right? Guarantee these banks will approve you for business cards. So one of the first things that you're going to have is a good personal credit score, right? Because if we talked about this in the last video, if you're not making a lot of money with your LLC, they're going to want to do something called a personal guarantee. They look at your personal credit profile to make sure that you are worthy of business funding, right? And all we got to do is just make our profile look a certain way so that they say yes to our applications. First thing is having a good score. This isn't the only thing that they're going to look at, but it's the first thing that you'll see when you break down a credit profile is the score. You want to be 680 or above. Now, we'll talk about some of the stuff that comes into play when we're talking about that 680, because there's a difference between having a 680 and only having one account open on your profile and having a 680 with a good credit mix, low utilization and all that. But you want to generally have above a 680. The higher the better, but 680 is like that floor we're looking for so that we can get high limits with business funding and we can get the cards that we want with the time frames that we want. So you want to have a 680 credit score. You also want to have very low utilization. A lot of credit gurus will tell you keep it below 30%, but just to be safe, I say keep your credit utilization under 15%. That's a sweet spot. Anything under 15%. So if you have 3 credit cards with $1,000 each on them, you got $3,000 in total limit, then you want to be using less than 15% of that total limit. You need to keep your credit utilization under 15%. The third thing you want to have is 4 to 7 open accounts. You don't want to go to a bank asking them for all this funding, right? And all you have is one credit card reporting on your profile. Then they're going to look at you and be like, bro, you don't even know about credit. You only have one credit card. So some things that you can put on your credit profile if you don't have a bunch of credit cards open right now: Rent Reporters or Boom Pay. So these are 2 websites that I highly recommend that I used in the beginning of my credit journey to boost my score without having to apply for credit cards. So Boom Pay and Rent Reporters, they both do the same thing. Basically, you can report the rent that you pay for wherever you live at, and you can backdate 2 years. So if I never touched my credit before, right, and I just decide today I want to go ahead and put my credit score, something you can do today is go on Boom Pay or go on Rent Reporters, log in and show that you've been paying rent. I believe Boom Pay makes you log into whatever app you use to pay rent, but I believe Rent Reporters, you just need your landlord's email, and sometimes you could finesse it. You could just get somebody's email that you can just have them say, like, this dude's been paying rent here. But Rent Reporters and Boom Pay, you can backdate 2 years and it will show on your credit report that you have been making on-time payments on this open account for the last 2 years. And that is very strong for your credit report. Payment history makes up a huge portion of your credit report, of your credit score. So you can show a lot of payment history, and those are just 2 accounts that you can put. Some other ones that you can put on your report are Self or Meet Ava. Those are pretty good ones that you can put on your report. And then also having auto loans, having a good credit mix is very important too, having an auto loan on there. These are things that are really good whenever it comes to proving to the banks that you are worthy of funding, because you not only have one credit card on there, but you have things that are reporting so that you can show you know what you're doing. Having a good credit mix, having things like auto loans on there, credit cards, Boom Pay, maybe a little open account with a jewelry store. Anything that you can report on your credit that is being positive is very good. Another thing you want to keep in mind is your credit history. You're going to have at least a year of credit history, average age of a year. And something to think about is you may be thinking, well, why don't I just add a bunch of accounts on my credit profile? Well, because every time you add a new open account on your credit profile, it's going to drop your credit age. So if you had an open account for the last 10 years, but now you just opened 5 accounts this year, they're going to add those up and average that time out, and that's going to become your new credit age. So be careful. Don't just add a bunch of loan accounts to your credit profile to try and make it look good. Something you can also look into is trade lines, right? Having trade lines is, I'll go more in depth on trade lines on another video. That's a whole nother topic, but you can look up trade lines. Basically, you can buy other people's debt or buy other people's credit open accounts and report those onto your credit. Another thing you can do, especially if you're young and you haven't done this, is you can become an authorized user on a family member's credit card or someone that you know's credit card, because becoming an authorized user basically shows you get the credit history from the person whose card you're an authorized user on. It's very popular to do for young kids. You can go to your parents and say, look, can you put me as an authorized user? Whenever we get the card in, you can cut it up. I don't even want to spend money on a credit card. I just want your credit history. Make sure that the person you're getting that credit history from, though, is responsible with their credit, and they're not just spending it stupidly, because you want to make sure that that credit you're getting is good history. So that's another thing you can do. And all these things are going to add up to you having a good credit profile and a good credit mix, so that when you go to these banks and you're asking for these high limit credit cards, they're going to say yes, and you're not going to get denied. And then once you get that funding, like I said, you just funnel that right back into Amazon FBA. You could funnel it into Airbnbs. You could funnel it into any other businesses that you can think of. You just want to have that funding so that you can start that business. Anyways, I'm not gonna yap for too much longer. I just wanted to drop this sauce. It's a good day, a beautiful day outside. I'm up here on the balcony. And if you're looking to start Amazon FBA, if you're looking to get business funding or repair your credit, all that is stuff that I do with my students in the mentorship. I'll pop up some case studies around that you can see. We've been making people lots of money in the mentorship, and the price is only going to go up, right? We're always adding value, and we're always adding more stuff. We started this by just teaching people how to do Amazon FBA. Now we're getting people funded for 50K plus. We're fixing people's credit. We're showing them how to invest in Amazon and in other things as well. So the price is only going to go up. The value is only going to go up. That's the way that I got where I'm at, by having mentors. Hit me up. We'll get you right. So anyways, hope y'all got some value out of this one. I try to keep it straight to the value as much as possible. Don't include too much fluff. I appreciate the feedback everybody's been giving me. I just hit 1,000 subscribers. I think we're at like 1.17K or something like that. I don't even know, man. It's just, I never thought I would be here. I keep giving value, man. I'm gonna keep giving value. I'm gonna keep changing people's lives in the mentorship. Comment what y'all wanna see. Let me know anything y'all need to know about credit, about Amazon, about business funding. And I really appreciate y'all rocking with me into this point. So as always, sell things online, make lots of money. Peace.